Hello and welcome to Cloud and 5G Live. Today I'm joined by Leonardo Coca, Director of Negotiations at Telecom Argentina. Leonardo has 25 years of experience as a successful leader of services, finance and technology businesses. He is now Chief B2B Officer at Telecom, a company that is rapidly evolving from a telco into a digital solutions provider and plays a key role in supporting organizations on their digital transformation journey. So, without further ado, here to deliver his presentation entitled Multi-Cloud Evolution Challenges of Hybrid Cloud, please welcome Leonardo to the stage.
Hi, Sam. Thank you very much for the presentation, for the introduction, and for inviting me to present today. Let me first talk about the company I work for, Telecom Argentina. We are the biggest company, the biggest telco in Argentina, and the #1 technology solution for the B2B corporate and government sectors. We have the biggest network. We started with the 5G. We have 75,000 kilometers of fiber optics. A huge network, and we made very important partnerships with AWS, Google Cloud, Huawei Cloud, IBM, and Microsoft Azure in order to deliver this transformation that companies and business are requiring today. We are, as we see ourselves, the ideal partner to help companies in this journey to the digital transformation. So today I'm going to talk about 5 topics. One is the multi-cloud. As we understand, it is useful for the companies to see the service and the journey to the cloud as a multi-cloud journey. Topics about security, connectivity. What happened with the talent? People, it's very difficult to get the talent to work on this kind of stuff. And some insights about 5G in Argentina and the needs that companies have in these places, in this kind of underdeveloping countries. Well, few numbers. 80% of the companies are moving their operations to the cloud. At least this is the statistics in Argentina, both from simple email to complex, maybe AI or CRM. This statistics shows that this is a movement, nothing new to talk about it. So let's move of what are the issues that we are considering when moving to the cloud. It depends on the need. For example, some companies decide this because of the cost. But when you think about the need you have, it depends on your business. For example, we have a customer which is a huge company like a Walmart in Argentina, that when the pandemic started, their need for transaction grew 10 times, and everything stopped working because nobody could get into the e-commerce to work and order the stuff that they wanted to buy. So they had to increase their volume of operation 10 times. It was impossible at that time. So they moved everything. They had an on-site, an on-premise solution. They moved everything to our cloud in order to multiply 10 times the volume. That was impossible to do if they were planning to continue to work on-site. So the flexibility for this kind of e-commerce solutions. Then you have another needs. For example, if you are banking, you need some strong security for the core banking, and sometimes you have regulations that ask you to have the data in the country. At least in Argentina, sometimes some data you have to have stored in the country. So if you move to the cloud, you cannot assure that the data isn't on the country. So that is something that it depends also on this kind of need, if we can move to the cloud or not, or you have to stay on premise. Sometimes you only need a development environment, so you can go to the cloud. So the needs are very, very diverse, and depending on the needs, it's what you are going to project and to do in your plan to the cloud. You will analyze, of course, the cost, if it's cheaper or not. What is the performance? Sometimes you have a better performance going to the cloud. Sometimes you don't. In Argentina, for example, you do not have all the clouds located with the local node. So sometimes the data has to go to the United States and back, or maybe to Brazil. So that is a point that you have to take into account. Regulators, as I mentioned before, for example, in the case of banking or data, specific data, you have to stay within the country. Sometimes you have a legacy solution that you just lift and shift to the cloud, but sometimes you have to make new developments. I mean, develop from scratch something that is optimized and cloud ready. And well, sometimes you have a lot of infrastructure on premise, and you decide to move to the cloud when you have the software or the hardware that is completely obsolete. You have to change everything. You have to make a huge investment, and you just decide to go to the cloud. This is what we talk about, the plan, the hybrid roadmap, a plan roadmap that you have to design based on these topics that we mentioned before. And in this implementation, you have to take care, of course, about the movement to the cloud, about the security, because moving to the cloud changed everything about the security. We are going to talk about this later. About the connectivity also, because connectivity, it's core to the cloud. It's not just going to the cloud and that's it. You have some issues that you have to take into account. And about the internal and external knowledge, because all of this is technology that is changing, is evolving. To have the knowledge inside the company sometimes is very difficult, so companies decide to outsource and let other companies manage this for themselves. So we were talking about security. It's incredible the complications that security can make to a company right now, because companies are being more and more digital, and the impact is greater. And at least in Argentina, 85% of unauthorized access are due to problems in the configuration that is, responsibility of the client, not responsibility of the cloud. And 80% of the companies have very sensitive data in the cloud. So some insights, for example, talking about the kind of business you are in, knowing that the business are getting more and more digital every time. This is money. I mean, having problems because you have been hacked, or the business stopped working, is money. Every hour, every minute is money. So when you have a business that is more and more digital, the impact is greater, and it's greater in your image, because it's not the same if you are offline. I mean, nothing happens, but if your business is online, having the service down, it's a question of money, and it's a question of image, public image. Then you have the issue of the shadow IT. When you have so many cloud solutions, a lot of areas within the company buy services that are not coordinated by the IT division. So some people that are not experts in security, configurations, analysis of the dangers, and they left a lot of vulnerabilities that can be used by the hackers. And then the ransomware, which is by far the most prevalent type of malware in the cloud. And many customers call us when there is nothing to do but mitigate the impact. It's like trying to buy the insurance when you crash the car. I mean, you have to buy the insurance before, because you have to be ready and not when the problem arises. Those are the insights that you have to focus in order to take care of the solution, of the security, of the solution you have to the cloud. So you have at least four topics that you have to focus. First is, of course, the access to the cloud. This is the basic security that the cloud providers give you, but it's not the most important. I mean, people think that once you have the two-factor authentication and everything secure to access to the cloud and the configuration, that's done. And that's a huge mistake. 85% of security breaks came from problems of the configuration of the application, not of the cloud itself. So that is a huge point to make it to take into attention. Then the cloud networking. When you have cloud, you have on-premise. Maybe you have something in a data center of your telecommunications provider, and maybe you have several clouds. You have to analyze which is the connectivity between the clouds. Those links has to be secure. There are flaws, outdated links, and everything has to be, managed by a security provider in order to be sure that the operations will be stable. And finally, the knowledge race is very, very difficult for companies to be up to date on this. So it's difficult to get the talent, it's difficult to keep the talent in your company. So it's very important to understand that this race between the robbers and the cops is very difficult to keep the pace if you are a company that you are not specialized in that. And besides that, when a specialist is working on a company that has its core business in the security, they have a race, a talent project to develop their career that they could grow as a professional. So it's very important to develop this in the companies that specialize in this kind of services. Regarding connectivity, SD-WAN is a trend worldwide, and SD-WAN, kind of the SD-WAN, which is called SDCI, which is software-defined cloud interconnection, is kind of an SD-WAN specially dedicated to the cloud. Networks are all around the world. Everybody has access to the internet. And in the past, the networks were defined by the telco providers and managed by the telco provider 100%. Right now, everything is defined by software. That is why SD-WAN is software-defined wireless area network, and it's the trend that every company is moving, especially if the company is moving to the cloud. Because the operation model is different. In the past, you had maybe on-premise, you have the host. All your branches, for example, has direct access with links to your on-premise data center, and that was fine. But right now, your application is on the cloud, so it doesn't make sense anymore for you. If you are in a branch, go to the headquarters, and then go to the internet to find the information you need or the application you need to the cloud. So with the SD-WAN, you let in a secure manner, you let the branch go straight to the app on the cloud, very secure, and without having to go to the headquarters. So the SD-WAN is a trend. If you go to the cloud, you have to do something with SD-WAN and also with this DCI to connect your cloud providers. Of course, you have a network. I mean, we are not talking about destroying everything and starting from scratch. You have something, you work a lot on building your existing foundation, and you have to project the evolution. But this kind of solutions let you centralize the configuration, give you a lot of flexibility, you control your infrastructure and your services, and in a very secure manner. I have been talking about talent scarcity. It's very, very, very difficult. I mean, in any area of technology, you can see it everywhere, but especially with cloud and security, is very, very difficult. 40% of IT positions are external because you prefer to outsource. It's easier, and sometimes it's the only way you can get the appropriate knowledge that you need. And more than 70% of companies have difficult finding the profiles they need. And that is why the outsourcing solves this. The demand is growing. I mean, developers, architects, cybersecurity, everything is very difficult to get, very difficult to attract the knowledge and the talent that you need. And then you have a lot of difficulty to retain. And this pandemic that let us work from home and maybe work from Argentina to a company in the US, in the United Kingdom, where the payroll is, I mean, the checks that they receive is much higher. It's a huge problem for the countries in which you have the talent, but right now the talent can work for everybody in the world. I mean, this happened in the past, but with the pandemic and the expansion of the home working, it explodes. So it's very, very difficult to attract and retain the right people. And finally, let's talk a couple of minutes about the 5G. I mean, 5G, you have a lot of reports. This example from PwC says that 1.3 trillion in global GDP boost by 2030. I mean, that's amazing. That's letting you do things that you couldn't do before. It's growing everywhere. In Latin America, we are, I mean, as in all technologies, we used to be a little behind the trend, the worldwide trend, but we are planning to have a strong presence in 2025. And talking specifically in Argentina, I mean, we are developing, we are the first 5G network in Argentina, but we do not have still the spectrum available. I mean, we are the government didn't tender it yet, so we are using DSS in order to use with the spectrum we have in 4G. We are developing our 5G because we understand we have to support the digital transformation of our client businesses, and we have to promote the development of the digital ecosystem in our country. We understand that this evolution that gives you higher density of devices, higher bandwidth, lower latency, will change a lot of business and will have a lot of applications in smart cities, industries, healthcare, gaming, mining, agro industry, which is huge in Argentina, logistics. But we also see, to be fair, that many of these applications right now, at least right now in Argentina, can be served with the 4G technology. I mean, not all these solutions need the density that 5G gives you, or the higher bandwidth, or the lower latency. Of course, this will happen in the future, but right now we can provide some services that can deliver the needs of the industries right now with the 4G. So we are planning this expansion in order to set the network ready for the future applications. As I told you before, to make the development of the digital ecosystem in the country a possibility. And that's it. Thank you very much for letting me present this today.
Thank you, Leonardo. That was a fantastic presentation. Moving on now to our Q&A session. Leonardo, what challenges does an incumbent company have in a world that is increasingly digitized and requires new services?
Well, the first is the change in the scope, something that you mentioned before. I mean, we are changing ourselves. We are converting ourselves from being a telco into a technology company. That means changing from being a mobile internet and data provider into an IoT, Internet of Things, cybersecurity, cloud, SD-WAN. This is a change in the scope, which is huge for us, for a big company like we are, and all the telcos in the world are in the same path. We are switching from selling clear needs. I mean, everybody knows when a company needs mobile internet and data, they know what they need exactly, and they ask you what they need. But right now, we are converting our company into a company that helps in the transformation of our customers. That is completely different. I mean, this needs a change in the culture of the company, which is, I mean, you were a huge. We have more or less 50% of the market in Argentina. So it's completely different to have a company that has 50% of the market share, that you are getting into services and solutions that you are not the leader right now. We are not the number one, our brand is not associated with that. So we have to change that culture. We have to change our strategy, as I mentioned before. We have to change our portfolio, the product portfolio, our organization, our systems, our processes, our partners. I mean, those partners that I mentioned before, Google, Amazon, Microsoft, IBM, Huawei. Well, Huawei, we were partners of Huawei or Cisco or the networking companies of this world. But the cloud providers, I mean, those are new partners. And just to give you some numbers of the transformation that we are in, the sales of this kind of digital solutions, different than the traditional telco business, was 8% 2 years ago, and right now is 32%. I mean, huge growth in this kind of sales. The account executives, we have a more or less 400 account executive sales force in the B2B division. Only 37% of them sold any digital solution in one quarter 2 years ago. Right now, 90%, almost every account executive sell at least one solution in one quarter. And also the digital customer service. In the past, we have more or less 83% of the contacts that our customers did were by phone. Right now, less than half. I mean, we switch completely to email, WhatsApp, chat, LinkedIn. That is the way that we connect to the customers. This is the kind of transformation we are in.
Brilliant. Thank you, Leonardo. That's fantastic. Unfortunately, that is all that we have time for today. Thank you for joining us, and thank you also to our audience. Please stay tuned for more of what's to come here at Cloud and 5G Live. Goodbye.